Hi, Tim. Thank you for coming today. Can you share a little bit about your journey in terms of mindfulness and meditation?
Yes, so I'm a mindfulness meditation teacher. I've been teaching, and I'm an occupational therapist, so I've been teaching mindfulness-based practices in New York City public schools. And I've been teaching there for about 10 years now. And I also teach for the Pragmatic Dharma Sangha. So I'm an authorized Buddhist teacher in the Pragmatic Dharma lineage, and I teach at New York Insight as well. So I serve on the board there.
Mm, so, when did you start your journey in terms of meditation and what brought you to meditation?
So my journey with meditation and mindfulness was it's kind of a long story, so I'm trying to think of what to share. I think I was always introduced to like Zen and Buddhism through media, like through sports, and like watching the Chicago Bulls when I was younger. They used to call Phil Jackson the Zen master, and like we had some spiritual books growing up the house. But I would say the first time I actually meditated was in college. It was in a abnormal psychology class, and we learned like this meditation technique, and it completely kind of like unearthed something. Like I was like, wow, this is really something in terms of what it did to my consciousness, and I just felt like my mind was kind of blown. And then this was in college, in while studying psychology, and then it wasn't until later in my like probably like mid 20s, I was in like having like a mental health emergency, like a crisis, and I didn't have a therapist at the time, and I was pretty much alone. So I did some meditation, and I did some focused attention, and then vipassana meditation, and learn to see the negative emotion kind of just dissolve and change and morph just by observing it. And I could immediately was lifted of any emotional affliction in real time. And that's when I started really going deeper and reading every spiritual book I could find, and
Yeah.
learning meditation as a discipline,
Yeah.
and finding teachers and going on retreat. And then I started implementing it in my practice. So as an occupational therapist, I was teaching it as a modality because a lot of the students I work with are very anxiety prone, and so I was becoming a teacher and slash student at the same time.
Very cool. You mentioned about Vipassana and meditation, but just observing any emotions or thoughts. But what is for people who are new to meditation? Can you explain a little bit like what is meditation exactly and how many different types of meditation out
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. Yeah, meditation is broadly defined as a contemplative practice in order to train your attention. And there's many ways to do that. Like and it depends on what you're trying to do, the goal, because there's some meditation where you're just focused on one thing, like the breath or sounds or visual, and you're just concentrated on that and nothing else at all. That's a concentration practice. And then there's practices that are what you call deconstructive, like that's vipassana, which is like you're learning to like observe your experience in real time, your sensory experience. Like so, it's like more of like they call that in the literature open monitoring practice.
Open monitoring.
Open monitoring, which is like
Okay.
you're just whatever's happening arising in awareness, you're aware of it, and you're aware of it, and you're accepting it.
Okay.
And then there's two other categories, which is called there's one that's called non-dual practice, which is
Non-dual.
non-dual, which is like transcending the ego and eradicating a sense of self, and there's just a sense of connection and oneness with everything. That's like a higher, very high level, like esoteric practice. That's like Zen, Chan practice, it's Dzogchen and Tibetan practices. And then there's a fourth category, which is called compassion-based practices, where you're actively trying to cultivate feelings of like well-wishing and compassion towards suffering to yourself and other people. So that's broadly defined. Those are like the four different types of meditation.
Mm.
Yeah. But there's like hundreds and hundreds of styles of meditation.
Yeah.
And like mindfulness meditation, that's the one I'm trained in, is like one type of meditation. It's like you can think of it like sports.
Yeah.
Like there's just a lot of different sports. Like it's just an umbrella term. Yeah.
Yeah. So for someone who just started meditating, how would you recommend them start from? Like, are there any simple ways to start meditation or one practice they can start every day?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. So I come from meditation as like, there's all these different styles. And just like, and kind of tinker with one to see how it lands with you and then move on to a different one. So just focus on mindful breathing is something everyone could do. It's kind of just focusing, finding a place in your body where you feel your breath and just gently apply your attention to that breath. And then as soon as it drifts off, going into thinking, you just notice it and then come back to it. So every time you just drift off, you come back. You're distracted, you come back. You're thinking about the fight you had with your partner earlier, and then you come back. Or so it's like this constant like coming back,
Stabilizing. To your breath?
Yeah. So that's very foundational. Coming back to the breath. There's also practices. So that's really great. Anyone can do that.
How do you come back to your breath? Like, is there any breath work that you recommend, like for like box breathing or?
So those are like pranayama, which is like those are great. They're a little different and they're useful, really useful. But I wouldn't say like that's a good way. I think it's a good way to like start a meditation. But ultimately in meditation, you're not trying to alter or manipulate anything.
Just a natural breath.
Exactly, natural breath. Yeah, so there's that. And then there's also like some people just sit and just allow yourself to be. Whatever comes, let it come.
To be angry, to be sad.
Yeah, you can be anything. Anything in your experience can be included, which is also a great meditation. That's like, okay, and I'm hearing this, I'm feeling this, I'm seeing this. So like you can just note Vipassana noting, which is just like noticing and labeling whatever is in your experience. So it could be like, okay, hearing, feeling, because I feel my body. Could be hearing, could be seeing, because I'm noticing I'm seeing. So just gently labeling what you're labeling every few seconds, and that can be a really good starter meditation too. Just to get the foundations of your sensory experience. So broadening meditation to like a lot of different domains.
Okay, just acknowledge what you're feeling at the moment and labeling them.
Yeah. So that's a really good meditation. You can do that the whole session, like for.
But that requires
5,
you to be by yourself, right? Like you cannot. How do you do that during a fight with your friends or partner?
You'd be surprised if you both practice that. You could like stop yourself. You can be like, okay, there's anger right now. I feel tension right now. Like you can use it as a interpersonal practice. And there's a really great way to practice between two people, like you like going back and forth. It's called like a social meditation where like you name what's going on for you. And I name what's going on for me, and you just keep going back, like passing a ball back and forth.
Interesting.
So that's one we actually practiced that before. That's a really good way, and I mean that's a great way for partners to practice or friends to practice because like you're just attuning to what's happening in the present moment, and it can be really good to like kind of like getting out of reactive patterns or dynamics, like maybe an interpersonal dynamic, because a lot of it's just like, hey, I'm feeling this right now, I'm feeling this, and then taking a pause from whatever the content of your argument or something is. So that's the mindful pause. So mindful pausing, just kind of inserting presence into your interactions.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. And you also mentioned you teach in public school, and I wonder how are the kids nowadays they deal with stress and like anxiety and depression. Do you see any trends or how they react to meditation?
Trends. First, yes. So yeah, I just see the mental health crisis. The teens, they're super addicted to devices and like YouTube and social media. And if there's boundaries around it, there can be a lot of tantrums and a lot of pain around that. So it's like, so there is a lot of the stress involved with technology. So I'm seeing that a lot. So I think mindfulness can be applied to that, or like noticing this craving and
Yeah.
letting it come and go. So that can be useful.
Craving for
Like a device or something like understanding your behavior and your patterns
yeah.
and learning to be kind of disenchanted or letting them go, especially and that's a real insight, that's a real awakening, like, oh, waking up from this pattern, like I don't really like being on my phone but I'm on it all the time, and maybe taking a pause there.
Why do you think they're so addicted to devices? Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of user design reasons, like the algorithms, and they're designed to addict you, and I think they give you a sense of pleasure, and
Yeah.
like, and because likes or content, and it's just, I think they're just addicted to like the kind of entertainment of it, of things, and most of the apps are designed to keep you addicted, and so all the research is showing that Meta was just sued and they lost a lawsuit to show that they're addicting children. So mindfulness can really help with that, like from parents and teens as well, can bring a lot of awareness so that they can possibly stop doing that. Yeah. And to answer your question, how the kids like it, students like it, they love it.
meditation.
They love, a lot of them love it. It's really how you frame it, like, because like a lot of them are like just like frustrated with like doing math and working and studying and working on academics, and there's a lot of doing in school. But then I come in and I teach them meditation. It's like, yeah, we're gonna take a break from all that. We're just gonna not do anything. And they're like, yes, I love that. I love not doing anything. You can think of it as taking a break, or just like just studying your own self in a way, like not studying anything external. We're actually talking about what's going on internally, and that can be really therapeutic and really, I guess you could say, really eye-opening, because you can frame it that way, like I'm studying myself, which is another huge benefit of meditation, like understanding your narratives, understanding your patterns, and it can be really empowering to teens and students.
I would imagine it's probably more challenging to teach kids, right? Because they're more like active.
Can be.
It's hard for them to slow down and just be quiet and
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
especially.
like,
Oh, definitely. I see that. I work with high school students, so they're a little more. It's not as hard, but I integrate movement often. So bringing mindfulness principles into movement practices like qigong, tai chi practices. So I'm always like when I guide, it's always like centering mindfulness, like mindfulness of the body while you're moving, so moment to moment. So movement is really, meditation is great for teens, and keeping it, and if they're younger, keeping it short, like let's just do a minute, or doing something a little more active, a type of active meditation, like movement or like listening to sounds. That tends to be easier for younger students.
I see. Okay. So during the teaching in public school, are there anything that surprised you by teaching the kids?
That's a great question. I think I'm surprised by how into it they are. They love talking about their mind and like emotions, and like the students now are very emotionally intelligent, and like I'm surprised how that, like, they're saying how, hey, I'm like, it's how useful it is for them. So like they, a lot of them love meditation, and they're like, they see the benefit of it, and I'm just surprised that like they're really benefiting from it. I have one student who like would replay violent scenarios in their head, like re-experiencing trauma from when they were growing up, and she heard gunshots, And then so like she would say like, yeah, I'm real like dysregulated in the moment. I'm reliving it. She would relive it, and then I would teach her to like look out for how it plays out in the mind, the visual and then the sound. And then then there's this kind of like technique. I had one student who actually loves meditation because I taught her to like see her thoughts come and go, and be able to like see a traumatic thought come and go. When is it here? When is it away? And she loves the fact that she knows how to actually see thoughts come and go. So like she knows when it's gone, and then there's relief. And then she knows. So I taught her to like hey, witness your thoughts, see it come and go, and so now she's like, so she loves the fact that she can do that now,
Wow.
especially with traumatic experiences.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm sure they will share with their family or friends as well, right?
Yeah, every time she sees me, she's like, Mr. Tan, Mr. Tan. It's like, I had a bad thought, now it's gone. I watched it go away. It's like, yeah.
That must be really rewarding for you, right?
Yeah. Because most of us aren't taught this, and we're so like embedded in our experience, in our thoughts, and our moods that we just feel so like kind of like infused with them.
Yeah.
And like a meditation helps you like disentangle, like unravel, and then get some space from it. Yeah, I feel like everyone should learn that, and I wish I learned that growing up as well.
Yeah, that applies to adult as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, Tim, you also study Buddhism and you teach us Buddhism as well, right?
Yeah.
So, from the Buddhism perspective, how do you explain anxiety and depression?
Oh, that's a good question. So, from a Buddhist standpoint, there's what's called the Four Noble Truths that the Buddha taught.
Four Noble
It's
Truths.
called the Four Noble Truths. So, one is that like there is suffering. Like there's just in life there's suffering, anxiety, depression. For instance, there's suffering, painful grief, things like that. Number two is that like, and the reason for your suffering, the pain, is because there's clinging, there's attachment to someone. And the third is like, well, there's a way out of all that. So there's, and then the fourth is like, well, here's like the Eightfold Path and the Dharma, like the teachings. And so, using that framework, anxiety and depression is number one. It's just for starters, it's an emotion. It's a sensory phenomenon. It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's like a experience. It's a thought. It's a worry, and it's often due to some type of attachment, like attachment to needing to be perfect or something, and that's why you have anxiety, or an attachment to like planning, or attachment to or worry of uncertainty, something like that. So there's some type of attachment there.
Yeah.
And in meditation and mindfulness, we're learning the anxiety about future, letting go of that, and also attachment to the past, attachment to stories or identities from the past, and that can cause depression, things like that. So from that standpoint, that's what it has to teach. Buddhism has to teach from those, and then it's also understanding emotions. They're just coming and going.
Yeah, it's temporary.
It's temporary. And, it's temporary. And there's wisdom in knowing that this is temporary. I'm not always going to feel anxious. I'm not always going to feel depressed either.
I like that. Yeah, nothing is permanent.
Exactly. And in meditation, you're actually trying to like experientially like embody that wisdom. You're like doing it in meditation, which can be really powerful, because it's one thing to think, or that's a concept. Oh, everything passes. Like everyone, that's something your friend will say. Like, oh, everything changes, everything passes. But to actually experience and embody that in meditation, it's very like within yourselves. That can be really, really powerful. That's why I recommend everyone either go on retreat or meditate daily, or go deep in the practice.
Okay. You talk about breath work and also like Tai Chi Qigong. Like for adults, what's one practice that you recommend? Like maybe before they start to work do it in the morning or before they go to bed.
Oh, okay. I recommend going meditating whenever you can. So so meditating first thing in the morning after like you get your coffee or right before you go to bed. I love meditating right before bed. I feel like it clears out the
Yeah.
cobwebs. In terms of breath work, I find breath work to be really great to wind down, especially if you're anxious. So like just breathing in for 4 seconds and breathing out for 8 seconds. Like doing a few rounds of that, especially I work with a lot of clients that have difficulty going to bed. Like there's cortisol, there's anxiety when they wake up or in the middle of the night. So a lot of it's just like relaxing with breath work and then going into meditation, like progressive relaxation meditation. From like a qigong perspective, it's kind of like I like shaking, just shaking the body,
Shaking the body.
shaking the legs, shaking the arms, kind of just you can do like a shake for like 2 minutes,
For
and
2
just like
minutes in the morning.
and then relax and stand in stillness, and then go into stillness, and then just feel kind of like the chi in the body. That can be done in like 3 minutes.
Breath work, qigong, and then relaxation meditation. What is that? That's just observing your thoughts and emotions for like 1 minute, maybe, or 2 minutes.
The relaxation meditation.
Yeah.
So relaxation meditation is like actively scanning the body, like going part by part and feeling any tension in your body and just immediately releasing it. So if I have tension in my shoulder, just gonna release it. If there's tension in my belly or chest, I'm just gonna release it, let it melt.
So like a body scan from the top of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that can immediately put you in your body and not in your thoughts. So that's one of the best ways to like stop ruminating about like why I can't sleep right now. So like sometimes you're just ruminating and thinking about it, and so immediately go to the body, relax the body, and then there's tension. And what I learned in Chan practice, Chinese Zen, is that like and Tai Chi is like all about like, hey, you gotta be relaxed your body like all throughout the day, because any tension, any subtle tensions, hurriedness or racing, that causes stress. That's going to mental stress or agitation. So it's a great way to start a meditation too. Start your sitting practice by scanning, relaxing, and then just being. So that's my practice these days.
Very cool. Do you still find anything that's challenging for you nowadays, or is there something you're still working on, or
Challenge
as a meditation master?
Yeah, I think just finding like sometimes I'm teaching a lot these days, like doing a lot of talks, and I just find that like it's easy to stop the daily practice. And so I find that I often go on retreats where you're meditating for many hours a day, but like even just like with the busyness of everything, it can be hard to like get off the rails in terms of a daily practice. So yeah, it's just like maintaining and maintaining as much as you can daily, consistently. But then, but if you can't do that, like I do, I'll wash the dishes mindfully, or do a mindfulness walk mindfully, or integrating it into daily, everyday activities. And so I've been practicing that way.
I like that. Like mindful eating, mindful walking.
Yeah, exactly. So like remembering to bring that relaxed presence and into whatever you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So if people wants to find out like where you teach or any workshops you're hosting, where can they find you?
Sure. So I have an Instagram, Tim Hwang Meditation, at Tim Hwang Meditation. Then I also have my website, www.timhwang.co. And that's where that's like my coaching practice. So I do mindfulness-based coaching, executive function coaching for adults with neurodiversity. So I teach how to be more efficient and calm using contemplative practice, and how to organize your day and things like that. So
very cool. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
No problem. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.